Last Day Reflection by Abia listeners. My name is Abia Grant, and we are here to reflect on our life journey. We will be discussing topics related to self awareness, self improvement, and mental health. Also, the purpose of this safe space is for us to be free to discuss the ups and downs, celebrate the wins, and talk about ways to improve the lows. So, welcome to this podcast, and I hope you gain something from this time we share together. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Reflection by Abia. I hope everyone is doing well. My name is Abia Grant, and we are here to reflect. So I hope that you are here to reflect as well too. I have what I feel is a great episode for you guys. I feel like this is going to be an awesome episode. So I hope that you stay all the way through and that you enjoy this week's episode. This is episode number 18 of the podcast. I told you guys last week that I am going to be trying to make sure I am numbering these podcasts because it's important to me to be 18 episodes in. That's a lot. That's a lot. So it's an accomplishment. And I just want to make sure that, we are here and we're up to episode number 18. So I want to start off by saying that I hope that your week or your weekend or just whenever that you may be listening to this, that you're having a blessed situation and that all is going well. And if it's not going well, it's okay. Pray on it and leave it in God's hands and know that He will take care of it. So, guys, with that being said, let's talk about a little bit about me. I guess you could say to start off. This week has been a very interesting week. There's been a lot of changes, like just with work and just a lot of what I can say is developing. A lot of things are developing. So that's kind of been like my focus. Well, not necessarily my focus, but one of the things that's been going on this week. And yeah, besides that, all is well. We are growing and we're just trying to do better than yesterday. So I'll leave it at that. So guys, like I said, I have a interesting episode for you. I was really thinking about which way I wanted to navigate the podcast into because I'm a person, and I've told you guys before that I like to make sure that I'm talking about topics that means something to me. I don't just want to talk about, whatever whatever's out there. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the things that is meaningful to my situation or what I have seen people go through, ways that can help people live a better life. Um, but also at the same time, better understand their situation. So, with that being said, this week's topic, and I believe I'm probably going to, I'm not sure what I'm going to name this episode, but this is going to be part one. There's going to be a few other parts to this, but this is going to be part one. And the topic that I want to discuss this week is about mental health and basically really breaking down what mental health is and really focusing on, because when people say mental health, it's so broad. It's like, okay, yeah, you have mental health disorder or mental health, whatever. You see a mental health therapist or whatever the case may be. And I think that the word is so thrown out there and it's so broad that even for me, I was kind of thinking this week, like, what is mental health? Like what components plays in it for me, that I could better understand in order to live my life better. Because at the end of the day, that is the goal. So basically, I broke it down as this, and this is pretty much things that I've gathered and so forth. I hope that, this is helpful for you guys And yeah, so the three components that I broke down mental health consisting of is cognitive health, emotional health, and behavioral health. Now, the topic that we're going to focus on this week is cognitive health. However, I am going to briefly discuss the other two health factors as well. But just to give you a little bit of foundation, cognitive health means staying sharp, being in the right mind. So basically, this consists of your thinking, your learning, your what you remember, and your reasoning. Now, emotional health, which we'll get into next week, but just to give you a little bit of a definition or what it means, is basically your subjective experience, your psychological experience. This also deals with behavior and expressive responses. Now, the last one we have here is behavioral health. So these are your stressors, basically whatever could be in crisis, stress related physical symptoms, emotional symptoms that affect your overall well being. So that's what behavioral health is. So, like I said, I broke it down into three components. We have cognitive health, emotional health, and behavioral health. But this week, I wanted to focus on cognitive health, and kind of really breaking that down in, I could say, trying to find tools outside of just, the medication side of it, in mental health, because I think sometimes, even for me initially, when I started on medication, I was a little bit concerned about it because it was pretty much a stigma. But well, what I can say is when you start to combine that with other type of actions and treatments, I feel for me, I can't speak for everybody else, you're less dependent on the medication because I feel like you have the tools in order to make the decisions that you need to make in your life. I want to break down what does cognition mean. So basically it takes place in the brain where you process your thinking, your attention, your language, your learning, your memory, and your perception. And then I said, okay, so what does the health part of it mean? So basically, that's being in your sound body. Basically, your mind and spirit are in line, and you're moving in a way in which is not detrimental to yourself. So I kind of wanted to get into what happens when your cognitive health declines. And you see, I try to make sure I pronunciated that accurately. But what happens when that declines? Basically, what you will notice is that you may start to forget things more often. You lose your train of thought. You may have trouble making decisions, trouble concentrating, and completing tasks. So when I looked at this, I said to myself, wow, I think that for me, this is something apparent in my life. I do feel that my cognitive health, I'm gonna be honest with you, is not at a high. I feel that for me, I try to create mechanisms in order to improve my cognitive health because when they spoke about you forget things more often and then you lose your train of thought. When I thought about this, I was like, huh. Okay, for myself, I was like, you tend to forget things more often. You lose your train of thought. You may also have trouble, making decisions as well too, and that also plays into the whole anxiety side of things in which you are faced with this challenge and it's just so overwhelming for you to deal with it that you kind of just let it be because it's just easier to let it be to try to ignore instead of just really facing what you need to face and make a decision about it. I also, for me, have sometimes trouble, concentrating on a certain thing. If I'm having a conversation about something, I'll deviate to something else. If I am, say for instance, I'm cleaning my room, I will start on one side of the room and then my eye will see something else, then I'll go to the other, section. And what for me that I have done to stop that, and I'm not sure if I've mentioned it to you guys before, is that I create pretty much a circle for myself. I start on one side of the room and then I basically take care of each section until I fully make a whole circle. So this is a way for me to train my brain to know, okay, this is how it has to, get done, and don't let your mind wander to all these other things. Also the part of completing tasks as well too. Although I am very organized, I consider myself to be organized, but I do that because I'm the kind of person where I like for things to be checked off of a list. When I kind of let things be in disarray, and that when I say that declining factor, things just don't get done. So I am a task oriented person of writing things down. I gotta write it down and I gotta check it off. If that's not done, then good luck of it getting done sometimes. So now, I wanted to look at the other side of it, and I wanted to talk about, how can I say, the aspects of when you throw in there your stresses, and you throw in there your depression, and you throw in there your anxiety, right? So basically, I was researching online and trying to figure out, okay, why does it feel like my brain is on overload when I am stressed, when my anxiety is at a high? I can't necessarily say, in some aspects, I do feel like in the past I have suffered from mild thoughts of depression, but I can't say that is the top of the list. I would say the top of the list is the anxiety. It's the anxiety, then the stress and depression, in the last part. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning into Reflection by Abia. Feel free to check out the podcast Instagram page and my personal page, simply.abia, also on Instagram. The links will be available in the show notes, so let's get back to the podcast. So basically, what I had found doing some research this week is that I have here, you take your cognitive resources and you apply them to the stressor. So basically, what that means is that in my brain, or maybe in your brain, or somebody that you may know, is when they have stress or anxiety or suffer from depression, they take majority of all their resources in their brain and they apply it to that stressor, that anxiety, or that depression. So what happens is this next part. So you're doing that in order to cope. But in theory, you're not necessarily coping. Why are you not coping? Because the stress and anxiety and depression is still there. So it says what it does is in turn, it limits your cognitive resources for things that aren't stressful. So sometimes what happens with me is that I'm stressed about something and another thing that's minor comes along, and then sometimes I get so focused on the stress part of the situation or whatever is causing me anxiety that even the most minute thing that is in front of me, I'll have trouble focusing on to solve it. For me, I could say I have a tendency also to ignore, to to just blatantly ignore. It's like I am just so focused on that one thing that is causing me to feel out of my mind, I guess you could say. Um, and when I looked at this broke this down and I did my research this week, I was like, wow, this basically makes sense. This basically makes sense. And that's the thing is like, I don't want people to think just because they have issues with cognitive health that it can be related to something like major, like schizophrenia or ADHD or anything like that. Sometimes it's just your stressors. Sometimes it's just whatever is causing you anxiety or whatever you're depressed about. And that's where you kind of need to focus on. You need to focus on ways to eliminate those things in order to basically open your mind so that when things are coming to you to face, that you can face it because you're not allowing for your brain to get so concentrated on one thing. You're focusing on one task and you just it's hard for you to deviate from anything else. And as I'm saying this, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. This may not be your situation, but as I said, I discuss about a lot what's personally going on with me so that I could be able to relate to the situation. So these are the things that goes on with me in my brain. And as I said, this may be going on in your brain as well too. So again, as I said in the beginning of the episode, is that I want for people to better understand exactly what is going on. Because I remember when I went to go see a primary, what did I see? I saw a nurse practitioner when I first was kind of diagnosed with anxiety, in which I again didn't know it was anxiety. Did not know it was anxiety. But she was kind of just she was a great nurse practitioner. However, I felt like they were trying to medicate the situation initially more than helping me figure out how to solve whatever's going on. Luckily the facility that I had went to also in conjunction to that had therapists. So I later found out, like in my mind, I thought that, oh, okay, they're just trying to medicate me and send me out the door. But then I realized, okay, no, they're trying to medicate me, but also provide me with a therapist to navigate this life situation. And it's the reason why I speak so highly about therapy. I think people sometimes don't realize how much it really helps, but it really helps. It really does help. So, I want to go ahead and get into a little bit of the solutions and things like that that you could maybe use if you're experiencing lack of cognitive health. If you're feeling like, you know what, things are not moving the same as they used to move before. Maybe you're dealing with um life itself. Maybe you have children or a partner, or you're taking care of a family member, or you're in school, or you have a difficult job. People are dealing with all sorts of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? And that's it's tough. It's tough. So I think like for me, this episode is so important for me to explain to you that it is tough. However, these are the tools that you may be able to use. So, as I said before, we all know, yes, medication is pretty much the number one thing that, doctors or uh, if you go to a clinic or something like that, you suffer from, stress or depression, anxiety, they want to give you medication initially. But outside of that, I really wanted to focus on treatments and therapy tools that you can personally research for yourself that you may think will work for you. And for me, at least two of these treatments that I'm about to mention, I realized my therapist was doing with me. And now that I'm sitting here writing them down as I was doing my research, I was like, wow. And this is the reason why I always say it's very important to do your research on. I know people like, oh, they don't want to go on Google because it's going to give them all different type of information and things like that. But I feel that research is so important for you to better understand you. So, with that being said, the first one I have here is problem solving treatment. So, basically, this treatment is for you to learn to improve your problem solving skills, but you're focusing on the present and not the past. I'm going to read that one more time. This treatment is for you to learn to improve problem solving skills or provide you with problem solving skills, but you're not focusing on, sorry, I may have read that wrong the first time. You are focusing on the present and you're not focusing on the past. Now, also in addition to that, you're focusing on the most pressing matter. You're not focusing on the things that's a minute situation. What needs to be addressed at this moment in order for you to feel good, for you to feel sound, if it's affecting somebody else, for them to feel good, for them to feel sound. And then I want to go back to you're focusing on the present issue and not the past. What I realize is that this is the past. The past is the past. And we need to be addressed about the things that's impacting our life at the moment. I can't be worried about if that thing in the past is not in my current present matter, I need to not be focusing on that because what's going to happen is that you're going to be bringing in so many different factors that is not necessarily affecting your life at this moment. So why are you concerning yourself with it? Why? Makes no sense, right? Doesn't make any sense. You should be focusing on the present situation, not the past. So for me, I'm trying to think about my own personal situations where I focus on the present. Let's think about it with work. Okay, so if I have a batch of information that needs to get done. If I have a report that needs to get done, unless something else is priority, I don't think I can necessarily use that example because that relates more towards kind of another type of therapy that I'm going to talk about in a few. But let me see. If I think about my relationship with my ex, let's throw that one out there. And that is not having any impact on my current relationship. Why am I focusing on my ex? No. I need to focus on my current partner. I need to be focusing on the tools that is going to get us to wherever we're trying to get to. Me being concerned about whatever so and so did to me or me not over this certain situation, yes, it does play a factor. I'm not saying that hey, you forget about it and you just got to move on. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you have to think about what is currently an impact now, you know? So let me go ahead and get into another type of treatment. So we have cognitive behavior therapy. So this is basically where you learn how to identify and change your negative thoughts that influences your behavior. I'm gonna read that one more time. This is where you learn how to identify and change your negative thoughts that influences your behavior. Guys, my therapist used this on me. I not realized it today. Well, I realized it when I was doing this research. My therapist used this on me. He be like, okay, this is a situation, this is a negative situation that you're dealing with. How are we are going to change it in order to a positive situation? He will basically ask me, how do you want to change this situation? And do you want to feel how you feeling? And I'll be like, no, I don't want to feel how I'm going to feel. See, so he'll say, then what are you going to do about it? He never gave me an answer. It was never him giving me an answer because my therapist was a he. It was never him giving me an answer. It was him basically asking me, okay, so what do you want to do? The examples that they have here is basically facing your fear. You could also do this action by role playing where you basically just role play with somebody a negative experience and figure out how you're going to change it to a positive experience and how you're not going to allow that negative experience to impact your behavior. We use cognitive behavior therapy every day. You know why? I say that. I think about that with work. Talk about work again. Am I going to allow for what someone did that was negative to affect my behavior towards to them or someone else? Am I going to allow for that to impact me? So we use this every day. We use this every day, and I'm now realizing that. So, the other type of example they have here is learn to calm your body. So a lot of people do that through like yoga, hot yoga, or working out, or just for me, I love working out. That calms me down. That centers me. That takes me away from my thoughts, and it reels everything back in for me. So learn how to calm your body. So now I'm going to go ahead and get into the last type of treatment. So that is called cognitive remediation therapy. So that is basically where you learn to improve your memory, your attention, and your organizational skills. Now, this one typically impacts people who have psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia, eating disorders, or ADHD. I can't necessarily say this is one that has been a part of my therapy, I guess you could say, or the treatment that was provided to me. But they have here, or what I jotted down, is that you basically replace ways of living that doesn't work with your current situation with what does work, so that you could take better control over your life, you know. And I was like, okay, that makes sense as well too. Then I was like, well, when I was initially writing this down, I was like, is there things in which I have replaced? Is there tools? Like I don't consider myself to have any type of psychiatric disorder. I just don't. But I could see myself replacing ways of what doesn't work with things that do work. Because at the end of the day, I want to be happy. So I was like, maybe we use cognitive remediation therapy. Maybe in my own way, not really realizing that I was doing it. I don't know. But sitting here and because initially, guys, I was like, no, I'm not using that. Now I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, yeah, I kind of am using that. So yeah, but guys, at the end of the day, purpose of me really talking about this again, I just want to repeat it again, is so that we could better understand mental health and so that we could better put a definition on it and understand how the brain works because the brain is such a big impact. It's what controls everything in our body. And if that is not in the good space, things like I mentioned last week, things are going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, and I think it's very important. We deserve to provide ourselves, and I know, financially it could be difficult. I understand that, but I feel that there's resources out there in order to help if you're dealing with stress, if you're dealing with depression, if you're dealing with anxiety. And I really do hope that treatments that's out there that, I listed the three different type of treatments that I listed is helpful, and maybe one of them you can utilize. You don't necessarily need to have a therapist to utilize these treatments. This is something that you could work on your own. I'm at this current time, I'm treating myself. I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but I am in a treatment myself. Because at the end of the day, I put myself in this treatment because I'm trying to be better. But like I said, I do hope that it does help and that you guys have a better understanding on what mental health is. And like I always say, guys, I am here. You can always hit me up on social media if you have questions, if you need somebody to talk to. You're not alone out there. And I just want to say that you are not alone out there. Hey everyone, thank you for listening to the podcast. So let's get into today's word. So, guys, let's go ahead and get into today's word. And today's word is centered. So basically, they wrote, or the definition that I wrote down is that it means to be goal oriented. So I have a couple of synonyms that I wrote down for center, and I have concentrated, united, linked, undisturbed, collected, even, unworried, and this is my favorite, unshakable. Unshakable, guys. Isn't that a good word for center? I feel like I am in many aspects of my life unshakable. There's some things that are being shaked. There are some things being topsied up and down, but in essence, I feel that when I have these conversations with you guys, these are the moments in which I feel unshakable because I know that if I help one person, then that's a blessing. And that just makes me unshakable because I know that I'm going to continue to do what I have to do in order to give people hope, you know? So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave the episode here. I hope that you have enjoyed this podcast episode and that, again, you have gained something out of it. I know that doing my research, I've gained a lot out of it. So next week we're going to be speaking about emotional health, and getting into that and how that relates to mental health. I hope that you'll be here for next week's episode. I'm going to be here, so I hope that you'll be here, and we'll have a good conversation next week. So, guys, stay blessed out there in those streets. Make sure that you treat others kindly out there in those streets. And God willing, I will talk to you in the next podcast. All right, guys, have a good day. Thank you for listening to Reflection by Abia. Let me know in the comments section what you thought about today's episode and share the podcast with your friends and family. The link will be available in the show notes.